10 habits to keep your home always clean. But in this video, you will see they can do much more. This is the true story of Mary Ellen, an American woman in her 60s, widowed, living alone in a memory-filled home in Wichita, Kansas. She had prepared herself to go through Thanksgiving in loneliness because her daughter had announced she would spend the holiday with her husband's family. Yet just 2 days before, an unexpected message arrived. The whole family would drive back to visit Mom. And Mary Ellen had exactly 48 hours to turn her cluttered house into a warm, clean, safe place for her 2 young grandchildren. In that urgent journey, she relied on 10 familiar habits that people who keep their homes clean always practice every day. Today, I will tell you step by step what she did, from washing dishes, doing laundry, taking out the trash, to making the bed, mopping the floor, and removing odors. You will see. Sometimes cleaning is not only about tidying a room, but about clearing the heart to be ready for a moment of reunion. At the end of the video, I will share what Mary Ellen realized after those 48 whirlwind hours. A lesson that anyone can carry into their own life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Your support is the motivation for us to continue sharing more meaningful things. Thank you for being here with us. Mary Ellen Thompson had become accustomed to the quiet rhythm of life in Wichita, Kansas. At 62, she still kept the 2-story wooden house her husband had built more than 30 years ago. Since his passing, the house had been both a shelter and a burden. Every picture on the wall, every old chair in the living room carried memories, but also dust, scraps, and items she no longer had the strength to clean. This year, she had prepared herself that Thanksgiving would be only for her. Her only daughter, Sarah, had called to say she would spend the holiday in California with her husband's family. Mary Ellen nodded in agreement, trying to sound cheerful. But after hanging up, she quietly sat looking out into the yard, where red maple leaves lay thick, her heart twisting in loneliness. Then suddenly, just 2 days before the holiday, a message arrived. "Mom, we're coming home. We just changed plans. My husband said you're all alone, and it would be too sad without us. We're driving back to Kansas." Joy burst forth. Tears fell. But immediately reality struck. The house was a mess. The sink was full, the living room cluttered, the floor scattered with debris, the bathroom heavy with old odors. Only 48 hours remained to transform everything before her daughter and 2 grandchildren walked through the door. This was no longer about cleaning. It was a race against time. And Mary Ellen turned to 10 simple habits. Small steps anyone can take, but in this situation, they became the lifeline that turned a messy house into a welcoming home for a reunion. We now come to the first habit she applied. Habit 1. Wash the dishes immediately. Mary Ellen's kitchen at that moment was a picture of neglect. The sink overflowed with dirty plates, and pots still held dried sauce from last night's dinner. Since her husband's death, she often left them soaking overnight. She told herself, "It's just me. No one sees. I can clean tomorrow." But tonight was different. Thinking of Sarah and the 2 kids stepping into this kitchen made her heart tighten. She pictured her youngest grandchild tugging her sleeve and asking, "Grandma, why are there so many dirty dishes?" That innocent question could shatter her. In that moment, Mary Ellen stood still, staring at the sink as if facing her own sorrow. She realized letting dirty dishes pile up was like holding on to broken memories. They only made the kitchen and her heart heavier. She took a deep breath and turned on the dishwasher. The humming sound filled the room, and strangely, she felt lighter. She understood she didn't have to do it all at once, just one cup, one plate at a time, and soon the whole sink would shine again. The next morning, Mary Ellen did something she hadn't done in a long time. She ran the dishwasher before bed and woke up to put away the clean dishes. Looking at the tidy kitchen, she whispered, "Today, I did it." That was the moment she realized washing the dishes right away not only kept the kitchen clean, but also gave her a sense of control, a bit of confidence to begin her 48-hour journey. Habit 2. Wash and put away clothes immediately. Walking into the living room, Mary Ellen stopped short. The armchair meant for reading had turned into a temporary rack for unfolded clothes. A pile of damp towels draped over the armrest, a few nightgowns stacked on top, and on the floor, socks untouched for days. She sighed, murmuring, "Why is there always so much when it's only me here?" The image of her daughter Sarah flashed in her mind. Years ago, Sarah once teased, "Mum, you've turned the whole living room into a closet." That offhand remark now echoed like a wake-up call. Mary Ellen felt embarrassed, thinking of her family sitting in a room littered with clothes. Inside, she wrestled with herself. Alone, laundry was not easy. Back pain, exhaustion, and she often told herself, "I can fold them tomorrow." But this time, she knew she had no time. In less than 2 days, Sarah and her family would arrive. Mary Ellen decided not to wait. She gathered each item, sorting into 2 piles, clean and to wash. The washing machine ran, its steady rhythm soothing her. As she hung up each dry shirt, she suddenly smiled. The space cleared, and the room felt less suffocating. She chose one small action to hold the habit, folding towels right when they dried, instead of leaving them draped all day. A small task, but Mary Ellen felt as if she had untied a knot in her heart. Washing and putting away clothes, immediately, it didn't just make the house tidier, it made her feel capable of turning things around. In this 48-hour race, that confidence was more precious than anything. Habit 3. Take out the trash every day. Mary Ellen stepped into the hallway, her eyes catching the sight of plastic bags hurriedly crumpled, a few old bills fallen near the telephone table, and a cardboard box left in the corner since last month. These small things seemed harmless, but together they made the whole house feel heavy. She paused, her heart tightening. In her younger days, she used to be careful, saving every bill, keeping every box for later use. But now, those things were only a burden. She heard again her late husband's voice. "Ellen, don't keep trash in the house. It only makes you more tired." That voice echoed, both comforting and aching. In that moment of struggle, Mary Ellen imagined her 2 grandchildren running around the house looking for a place to play. What if they tripped over a box, or curiously opened an old bag? The thought made her act. She grabbed a large black trash bag and went around the house. In each room, she paused for a few seconds, tossing small things inside: old newspapers, empty plastic bottles, unnecessary cardboard. With every item dropped into the bag, she felt a little lighter. When she tied the bag shut, she stood still, sensing as if she had just shed an old worn layer. Mary Ellen realized that taking out the trash was not just clearing the house, but her way of saying no to clutter in her heart. A task that took only 10 minutes gave her back safety and pride. That evening, the house had fewer obstacles. She sat down on the sofa and exhaled deeply. And for the first time in many days, she felt hope that she could finish this 48-hour race. Habit 4. Make the bed at the right time. Mary Ellen's bedroom was the place that held the most memories. The wide bed, wrinkled sheets, pillows askew. She often left it that way, thinking, "It's only me, why bother?" Every morning she walked out, leaving behind an image of neglect. But today, when she looked at the messy bed, her heart ached. Sarah and the 2 kids would surely run into the room, jump onto the bed, and ask to hug her. Mary Ellen pictured it, and in that moment she felt ashamed. A crumpled bed could not be the place to welcome those little arms. She remembered how her husband used to pull the curtains and open the window every morning before making the bed. He would say, "Let the light and air in first, then the bed will be fresh and clean." Those simple words now came back like a reminder. Mary Ellen followed. She opened the window, let the late autumn sunlight pour in, and took a deep breath. 15 minutes later, when the air was fresh, she stepped forward, smoothed the sheet, and placed the pillows neatly. In just a few minutes, the room looked brighter. And strangely, with the bed straightened, she felt herself straighter too. She whispered, "I don't make it for anyone else. I make it for myself, to remember I still have strength. I still have the ability to keep this home warm." In her 48-hour journey, the habit of making the bed at the right time, not in haste, not in neglect, became a symbol of how Mary Ellen was learning to care for both her home and her soul. Habit 5. Care for the floors. Mary Ellen stepped into the kitchen and her feet froze when she heard the crunch beneath her slippers. Breadcrumbs from yesterday's breakfast, a few grains of rice scattered, and cat hair spread everywhere. These little things not only made the kitchen look messy, but also posed a slipping risk for a 62-year-old. She sighed. Since living alone, Mary Ellen rarely paid attention to the floor. "I'll clean it on the weekend," she often told herself. But now, the thought of Sarah carrying the 2 kids running around the kitchen made her uneasy. Just one crumb could make a child fall. In that moment, she remembered her husband's old habit. He would sweep the kitchen lightly every night before turning off the light. He used to say, "Keeping the floor clean is keeping the family's steps safe." Those simple words now became her guiding line. Mary Ellen decided to start small. She took the broom, swept the kitchen quickly, and gathered the crumbs. Then she used a damp cloth to wipe the oil stain near the stove. It felt like lifting an invisible layer of dust off her mind. To maintain it, she chose one small action. Whenever she saw a spot, she cleaned it immediately instead of letting it pile up. She also turned on the vacuum robot in the living room, the one she had long forgotten in a corner. In just 15 minutes, the floors were cleaner, no longer gritty underfoot. Mary Ellen smiled. Caring for the floors was no longer a burden, but a way to ensure safety for herself and for the little feet soon to be running with laughter. Habit 6. Tidy up before bed. On the first evening of the 48-hour race, Mary Ellen sat down on the sofa, ready to rest. But as she glanced around the living room, she noticed the clutter. Old magazines scattered on the table, a sewing box left open, a coat draped over a chair. This room, once the family gathering place, now looked like a scene of disorder. She sighed, Living alone for many years, Mary Ellen had grown used to leaving it for tomorrow. No one reminded her, no one criticized, but this time was different. She pictured Sarah and the kids walking in. If the living room was messy, how could she invite them to sit? How could she proudly say, "This is Mom's home"? In that moment, she remembered an old memory. Every night before bed, her husband would gather the little things and put them in place. He used to say, "Tomorrow is easier, just because today we tried a little harder." His words rang in her ears, prompting Mary Ellen to stand up. She took a large basket and walked around the room. Each stray item went inside: magazines, a sewing box, and the coat. Then each one returned to its place: books on the shelf, coat in the closet, sewing box in the drawer. In just 10 minutes, the room looked brighter, more breathable. Mary Ellen realized tidying before bed wasn't to please anyone, but so she could wake up to a tidy home, starting a new day light-hearted. She smiled, turned off the living room light, and for the first time in many months, she felt she was in control of her space. Habit 7. Clean the bathroom and mirrors. The next morning, Mary Ellen stepped into the bathroom. The mirror was fogged with steam, streaked with old soap stains. The sink bore yellow marks. She looked at her reflection, a tired, wrinkled face hidden behind the blurry glass, and felt her heart tighten. She whispered, "This is where my daughter and grandchildren will come. Will they feel comfortable if Grandma's bathroom is this dirty?" The thought made her both ashamed and sorrowful. In that moment, she remembered how her husband used to leave the mirror spotless every morning, because he believed that a clean mirror helped one see oneself clearly. She smiled sadly, wondering, how long has it been since I truly saw myself clearly? Mary Ellen opened the cabinet, pulled out a microfiber cloth, and a bottle of diluted vinegar she had long forgotten. She began wiping each corner of the mirror. The stains disappeared and her face came into focus. Then she continued with the sink, the countertop, and even the doorknob. In just a few minutes, the bathroom looked brighter, smelled fresh and clean. A sense of relief spread through her body. She realized that cleaning the mirror wasn't just for guests to see a tidy bathroom, but for her to see herself again, unobscured, unhidden. Mary Ellen chose a small action to maintain the habit, leaving a cloth in the bathroom so she could wipe quickly for just 1 minute each day. Such a simple routine was enough to keep the room always welcoming. In her 48-hour journey, cleaning the mirror became a metaphor, tidying the bathroom, and at the same time clearing the way she looked at herself, clearer, brighter, more confident. Habit 8. Wipe the kitchen and sink. At noon, Mary Ellen returned to the kitchen. Though the sink was free of dirty dishes, the countertop still bore oil stains, and the sink rim carried yellow marks. She touched it lightly, feeling the sticky residue. Shame crossed her mind. If Sarah walked into a kitchen like this, would she think her mother had given up? In that instant, Mary Ellen recalled Thanksgivings past. When her husband was alive, he always wiped the kitchen after roasting the turkey, saying, "A clean kitchen makes the food smell better, keeps the memory delicious." That reminder now echoed in her mind, stirring her resolve. She opened the cabinet, took out a new cloth. Before hanging it up, she used it to wipe every stain, every dried droplet around the sink. She wiped the counter edges, the cabinet handles, the tiny corners she had long ignored. Within minutes, the kitchen was transformed, brighter, neater, carrying a fresh, pleasant scent. Mary Ellen stood still, a calm peace rising in her heart. She realized that wiping the kitchen wasn't just about keeping the cooking space neat, but about preparing the way for the smell of roast turkey, the scent of pumpkin pie, the flavors that would bring her family together again. She promised herself, from now on, before bed, always wipe the kitchen and hang a fresh cloth. A small action, but one that brought a sense of closure and renewal to each day. In her 48-hour journey, wiping the kitchen and sink didn't just make the house shine, it gave Mary Ellen pride. She still had the strength to tend the fire of her home. Habit 9. Prepare toilet paper. That afternoon, Mary Ellen stopped by the small hallway bathroom. She opened the cabinet and realized only one roll of toilet paper remained. A flicker of worry passed. If Sarah or the kids walk in and find no paper, I'll die of embarrassment. Living alone, she had never cared much. When she ran out, she simply grabbed another for herself. But with guests, especially her daughter and young grandchildren, such a small thing could turn into an awkward moment. Mary Ellen pictured a child knocking on the door, calling out in the middle of a crowded house, "Grandma, we don't have toilet paper!" And her cheeks flushed red just imagining it. She remembered visiting an old friend's house. The bathroom was bright, tidy, and in the corner were always 2 spare rolls. Back then, she thought it was a small detail, but now she understood it was quite thoughtful. Mary Ellen decided to act. She went through each bathroom, placing 2 fresh rolls in each. She didn't stop there. She also set a small tissue box by the sink, like a gentle message, "Everything has been prepared for you." As she lined up the rolls neatly, she felt relief. It wasn't just cleaning, but an act of care for her family. She whispered, "I want Sarah and the kids, when they step in, to feel this home is ready to welcome them." The habit of preparing toilet paper, small as it seemed, was Mary Ellen's way of proving she was still thoughtful enough, still attentive enough to care for her home and her loved ones. Habit 10. Care for pets and odors. In the kitchen corner, Daisy, the old cat's litter box, had begun to smell. Living alone, Mary Ellen had grown so used to it that she hardly noticed. But the thought of Sarah and the kids arriving made her uneasy. If they smell this the moment they walk in, will they even want to stay? She remembered a memory. Years ago, the first time Sarah brought her boyfriend, now husband, home for dinner. Back then, her husband had quietly changed the cat's litter and sprayed the living room fresh. He had said, "Our home must smell good so people feel at ease when they walk in." Now, Mary Ellen felt as if he was still whispering in her ear. She put on gloves, scooped out the old litter, replaced it with fresh, then wiped the box clean with a damp cloth. Afterward, she sprinkled baking soda lightly over the living room carpet, set the vacuum robot to remove cat hair and dust. Once done, she placed a small pot of water on the stove, dropping in lemon slices and cinnamon sticks. The steam rose, spreading a gentle fragrance through the house. Mary Ellen stood still, closed her eyes, and inhaled deeply. For the first time in months, her home smelled warm and welcoming, just like in the old days. And she realized, caring for pets and removing odors wasn't just for others, but for herself, to live in a place that truly felt like home. She smiled, bent down to stroke Daisy. "We're ready now, sweetheart. This house is about to welcome laughter again." After 2 busy days, Mary Ellen stood in the middle of the living room and looked around. The floor gleamed, the sink sparkled, the kitchen carried the gentle scent of cinnamon and lemon, and the bathroom shone with neatly stacked spare rolls of paper. Everything was different from just 48 hours earlier, when the house was cluttered and weighed down with memories. Now, it had become a home again, ready to welcome family. The sound of a car stopped at the gate. Mary Ellen quickly wiped her hands, her heart pounding. The door swung open, and Sarah rushed in to hug her tightly. Behind her, the two grandchildren ran inside, laughter filling the house. The little girl caught the kitchen's fragrance and exclaimed, "Grandma, your house smells so nice." That innocent remark blurred Mary Ellen's eyes with tears. That Thanksgiving dinner was simpler than in past years. A modest turkey, a few of her favorite dishes, yet the atmosphere was warmer than ever. Sarah whispered, "Mom, I'm so glad we changed our minds and came here. Your house, it feels like childhood all over again." Mary Ellen smiled, hiding the tears gathering at the corner of her eyes. In that moment, she understood something. Cleaning wasn't only about making a house tidy, but about making room for unexpected joy. Every small habit, from washing dishes, folding clothes, taking out trash, to wiping mirrors and changing the cat's litter, all of them created space for love to return. As night fell and the family gathered around the fireplace, Mary Ellen sat quietly, feeling her heart had been cleaned as well. Less sorrow, less resignation, leaving room for gratitude. She whispered to herself, "I did it, and I still have the strength to keep the fire of this home alive." You see, cleaning isn't about being perfect, but about making each day a little easier to breathe and leaving room for unexpected joy. If you resonate with Mary Ellen, leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this journey to live a lighter life.